Well, in this lawsuit talks about AI, artificial inflation, how things became artificially inflated, given bots, utilizing AI, coupling conversations with UMG, right? Most powerful music arm in the world, and that with Spotify, who changed the game for artists, really messed up the music industry, made it consumer friendly, but not artist friendly whatsoever. They decide how much a dollar really costs, quite literally. Now, I think that the timing of this lawsuit, depending on how you take it, I think you got to take yourself out of the fan, right? And out of the emotions of it. And you have to just look at it for what it could do. And what it could do is it can bring the house down. You have one of the biggest artists in the world, right? Who is signed to a label just 3 years ago. And they put up a $400 million deal. And he's now suing them. And if this actually goes to court, because this is a pre-lawsuit, right? If this actually goes to court, then so many things can be exposed. And during that exposure, it makes a lot of other whistleblowers inside of the industry become more comfortable with speaking on those practices. These practices should have been exposed because the ability for the music giant and the distributor, the person you signed to and the people that distribute it, to have back-end relationships and have equity essentially within each other should be illegal, right? And this has destroyed hip-hop and it only made an industry. So hip-hop has been fighting the industry for a very long time, right? Why? Because independent artists cannot grow unless they sold over to these major labels and they have direct relationship with distribution. Now, Drake might be somebody who's saying, well, the machine is not working for me at the moment, so F the machine. That seems to be a case. Either way, what the larger story in this, in a larger picture of this is that if this continues to be something that gets drawn out and the industry makes this the conversation, instead of exposing rappers, we're going to start having conversations about exposing the industry, exposing the executives, exposing the record labels, right? Exposing the monopolies, which is a much better conversation than trying to bring down hip hop artists. Oh, that's good stuff right there. Beyond the music industry, we're going to see next year high conflicts rise, right? This is a year of cosmism. We're going to see high solar winds and high solar energy in the cosmos. Now, as a high-level observer, you got to pay attention to everything, right? And how does this affect us? Because historically, during years where the sun has its maximum peak, there's also a rise in conflicts, but there's also a rise in innovation, technological development, right? And you can do your research like I've done mine. I've correlated all of the years that it happened because these are 11-year cycles. And so during this era, man is trying to reach for more power than he's ever had before. He's working on compression technology and consolidation of power. But by the breaking of these things, there's going to be the opportunity for certain development and certain innovation to finally happen. So you got to sometimes just sit back and enjoy the show, right? As fans, you know, we love to have our opinions about things. Who's right? Who's wrong? Whatever it may be. For me, I want to see the party die, right? Because when the party dies, the revolution starts. So Kendrick Lamar and Drake are pieces in a larger game, a much larger game than themselves, right? What Kendrick is doing is very interesting as a warrior, but the way God is using them is even more powerful because both of the moves that they're making can be used for the longer term, right? In a beautiful way. Because a lot of things that we've been asking for can now happen. And I think that my brother just sent me a list. He sent me a list of how all of the presidents, senators, congressmen, owners of social media companies, owners of basketball teams, owners of all these things are all either 80 to 90% or 99% white. Why does that matter? See, black people, I've been trying to figure out like how are we gonna win? right? How are we gonna win? How are we gonna have us some power? The system, the Goliath has become so strong. Doesn't it seem that way? They become so strong. But you have to remain a constant faith within yourself and within God. And when I look at it, I always like to zoom out. If this lawsuit takes place and the court of public opinion gets a hold of it, then this exposes the industry, which ultimately is good for artists, beyond this beef. So I would love to see it to where it's just not exposing rappers, but the actual executives and the actual institutions got to get involved and they get exposed, and that's when it crumbles. Because you can't free the people until you burn down the plantations. So you want to see these things happen. And yeah, that may be the end of, the court of public opinion in the streets might string up Drake for this, but I think it's a worthy sacrifice in the larger group of things. You know what I'm saying? In the larger group of things. And what you got to understand is we talking about large amounts of money. See, when the machine works for you, you don't mind the machine. But when the machine works against you, yeah, then that's when you want to fight the machine. But the movement has always been fight the powers that be. I think that if your power comes from having Lucian Grange behind you and having a huge entity behind you and a huge machine behind you, that's not true power in the first place. Yeah, he definitely got to pull up them receipts. So we gonna see, because there's no way that the biggest artist in the world doesn't have the same bot machine behind him. And other artists don't have the same bot machine. And what you will see is that sort of like the Wizard of Oz, right? When you pull behind the curtains and you see this little man there, but he was able to project such a big voice, you're going to see that with a lot of different artists, right? A lot of these artists today that have these huge machines behind them, and you see them everywhere. They at all these festivals, you hear them where. Why? It's not because they're the most talented in the world whatsoever. So when people have changed and moved the goalposts to say, well, they got motion, they getting money, but they never say they're talented. And the art should be about the skill. It should be about the talent, not whether somebody is getting money. So therefore, the industry died a long time ago when it stopped being about the art. It started being about who can sell a product and who becomes a product to be sold. It's that good stuff. Man, this coffee hitting. I just wake up, I get my coffee. That's all I have to think. You know what I'm saying? That's all I need.